Ladies and gentlemen, it's a Mean Green Nation podcast. Welcome to it. Folks, the good news is
recording in progress.
they were recording and it's in progress, and you should hear me better. A lot of you was like, I'd really love to get some of that ASMR. MGN, we're recording. It's amazing. That's what you want. That's what it's
Open a wrapper.
Say. Yeah, do I even have a wrapper? No, I just got I got junk on my desk. What time is it? Let me check my watch.
That is the worst.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but like mouth noises, I hate that. Ugh, bothers. I'm freaking myself. I don't like that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to do my part as far as that's concerned. My kids. I'm like, hey, close your mouth when you're eating, children. I was like, you're not the dogs. Look at those dogs. They don't respect other people, but you, children, you can't. Folks, it's a bye week, which is why we're, kind of just doing whatever. There's nothing to talk about as far as games, which is good because there's always that risk on a Saturday, right? You're like, okay, I'm either going to have a terrible Sunday, just that looming, how do we fix the defense, how do we score more touchdowns? Like, what are we going to do about that offensive line?
Who do we fire first?
Yeah. We just all coaches meet in the 80s office right now. Y'all getting fired, then I'm resigning. That's what's happening. So you kind of think that, and then you're like, okay, look, I'm just a guy. I'm not the AD, right? What am I getting for? That's part of you're just loving it. Sorry, I don't know if y'all can hear this mic. I gotta rewire a bunch of stuff. I accidentally run into this sometimes. You hear that? Yeah, that's it. I gotta fix some things because I'm making gestures, right? And then I knock something over, and you're like, what was that about? What was that? All right, so it's a bye week, and it was a good week to have a bye because everybody was losing, right? Everybody everywhere. I think this is the kind of week where if we played an FCS school, we would have lost, because it would have trickled on down. Alabama lost to Vanderbilt. This is a couple weeks after Nick Saban was like, every place in the SEC is tough to play except Vanderbilt because you have more fans than they do, and they played that in the stadium.
They got exposed.
Yeah, they're like, get Vandied, bud. It was a kid, Diego Pavia. I guess he walked on to an FCS school once upon a time and led to a JUCO school, led them to national championship. He won at New Mexico State, and then twice was a 21-point underdog and won. Then transferred to Vanderbilt, and here a 21-point underdog. So that dude is dangerous,
Yeah, that sounds like Cam Newton if I didn't know any better.
Yeah, and he's he was crazy. That was a crazy story. Miami's the only one that escaped because they're magical right now. Here's what I realized in that Cal that one, it was kind of late for me. I'm getting kind of old. I went to a kid symphony thing. Well, it was a symphony for kids. It was the main symphony orchestra here, but they were playing Dan Brown's Wild Symphony, or whatever. So they're the trumpet, the blah blah, and then the orchestra would be like, whatever. Okay, it was okay. The kids are loud, other kids, and so I didn't see all this stuff happening, but it was late for me, but it was regular time for you. I forget that you're on the West Coast,
Well, I mean, even so, the other games were ending. The Washington, Michigan game was ending, and I was like, okay, this is a nice end to the day. And then I realized there was another game on, and it was the first quarter. I'm not doing that.
Well, yeah, it's just, the joke this week is that it was apple picking weekend, right? And it's doubly so for us, right? Because everybody's like, my wife's like, all right, I got tickets to this thing, the symphony, and I was like, what, when? And then she told me, I was like, okay, I'll do it for you. It's a bye week, so that's fine. We can do whatever you want. It's a bye week. Let's go knock this out. We'll move something. Whatever you need.
Yeah,
Whatever.
decorate for Halloween.
Yeah, this is the weekend. I'm free. That we actually did that during the week. Kids couldn't wait, and they just been walking around with masks and severed fingers, plastic severed fingers. They're like, "Hey, Dad,
Mm.
close your eyes." No, no, no. Uh, which is funny because like last year, like one of them was too little, and then they didn't really get it. And the other one was just a little bit younger, and then, so she would be kind of freaked out by it. But now they're all into it, and they all enjoy the scary parts. Even my son, he still can't watch a scary movie. He can't. He's scared of like Hocus Pocus or Coraline,
Mm.
and he's like, "Oh, I gotta go. It's too scary." Yeah.
Well, the one thing of Hocus Pocus that always bothered me was the cat getting run over. Because that was a little extreme, even for like 90s standards.
That movie's kind of rowdy when you watch it now because you're like, oh, and this is not a spoiler because this movie's like 40 years old now, whatever. Um, that two kids die, start boom,
Yeah,
little girl dead, teenage boy kid, dead, gone. It's you're like, oh, okay,
yeah. And one of them's a zombie.
yeah. It's like, all right, so what channel? What is it? What are we watching here? Yeah, my kids like that or whatever. They're, I guess they like Bette Midler. I feel like I guess she's old now, but I felt like she was in a lot of movies when I was a kid. I was like, hey, more Bette Midler, huh?
Yeah, back in the day, she was huge.
Yeah,
I knew her better than I knew Sarah Jessica Parker. I didn't realize that it was Sarah Jessica Parker until I was an adult.
and you're like, hey. All right, so okay, getting a little off topic talking about that. All that to say is that this was
This was a spooky weekend for North Texas football. Is that where we're going? Is that how we're connecting the dots?
it could have been a spooky weekend, right? It was a lot of craziness. I thought that like Cam Ward was awesome. Funny thing about that game is that the starting quarterback for Miami, Cam Ward, right, and the backup quarterback for Cal, Chandler Rogers, both Eric Morris quarterbacks. You know, so yeah, I mean that Miami came back from down 25. They were down. But Cal was
Mm.
whooping them, and their coordinator is Mike Blesh, former North Texas offensive coordinator. You can see a lot of stuff is the same, similar to to what we ran a couple of seasons ago. But I mean, yeah, like Cam Ward was amazing, standing tall in the pocket, firing down there, and he had guys dropping passes and whatever. They score with like 30 seconds left to take the lead. It was crazy, crazy times in college football. Not a lot of crazy endings, but just crazy results. So I'm
Yeah,
happy.
but makes for a fun weekend. But yeah, North Texas has been a winner for 2 weeks.
Yeah, and that's that's why it's super important to win to win the week before your bye because just 2 weeks you're just like, oh, we got it. Remember we lost, and in just 2 weeks of that. So yeah, to round out the top 10, what is it? Louisville lost to SMU. We don't care about that. But what is it? TAMU beat Missouri. It's big over here. People care about that. I don't really care.
And that was a pretty solid win too.
And then obviously the Alabama one. I'm scrolling as I'm talking, and then somebody's texting me at the same time, of course. And it was USC lost. USC doesn't really seem formidable to me, but I guess they are. But Minnesota beat them. I think this was at Minnesota. It's weird to see USC play Minnesota. I'm like, what are y'all doing over there? What's going
Yeah,
on?
at Minnesota.
Did y'all get lost or something? What are you doing? And Washington, Wazoo, oh not Wazoo, Washington, the Huskies. They beat Michigan at home. Michigan went there. It was a rematch of the title game, and then of course Miami escaped California. Crazy times.
Kudos to Cal for all the social media presence that they've gotten this season. It's been pretty fun to watch. And if you watched the college game day, they had Marshawn Lynch on there, which out here we get tons of exposure to him. He is on um, what was it? Like a plumbing ad, and yeah, it's great. He just like there's this the commercial setup in the situation, right? My sink is leaking or whatever, and then he busts through the door and he's like, "I'm gonna fix your sink." There's a lot of those. It's been fun to see him. It's different, right? Where you got a goofy guy like Marshawn Lynch here doing that stuff, and then you got Emmett Smith doing tequila commercials. It's just a different feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, because like those are like my, like Emmett Smith, more childhood hero. Marshawn Lynch, I remember him, obviously playing or whatever like that. And you kind of realize like these are the old running backs, and then like I remember like I don't know, I don't remember O.J. Simpson doing ads, but I sort of remember seeing him in like was it the Naked Gun movies and stuff.
Naked Gun, yeah.
And like people would be like, oh yeah, well, um, he used to be real good. I'm like, he was like a football player. This guy, all right, yeah. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of like that. You're like, yeah, who's this dude? Yeah, he was a running back. He's pretty good. He's at Cal. And then he went to you're like, okay, yes, I don't They turn to that. They just keep making more of them. It's gonna happen over and over. Like Tom Brady is
Yeah.
gonna be Tom Brady. Is like a Terry Bradshaw. You know, Tom Brady. Like you think about like these announcer dudes that I know, like Phil Simms, Boomer Esiason, like
That's right. Just former big
Troy,
time quarterbacks that.
Troy Aikman, right?
Mhm.
Now you got Tom Brady out there, right? Like, he's the next one. They just keep putting more. What was the last name? It's like Brock Osweiler. He's just a guy. I remember asking my mom, I was like, "Who's Dan Deerdorf?" Frank Gifford. And like they were like good football players. Like when it was black and white or whatever. Like who cares? Get them out of the TV. Whatever. Right? So that's it. That's what's happening.
Stop
Those guys.
asking questions. Just watch
Yeah,
the game.
just watch the game. Go to bed. I remember I used to have to stay up. I asked to stay up to watch Monday Night Football. I was like, can we watch? You can watch the first quarter, which is not good. You like, so you kind of getting into the game. Right? All right, get out of here. Like, I want to see I want to see what the defense is gonna do. What's going on?
Do you though? Or do you just want to stay up?
I mean, there's a little both, and then like I think after a while you're like, yeah, we kind of get into the game. Like, who we got? It's the Dolphins. The Dolphins are playing everybody all the time. Yeah, it's got the Dolphins and the like whoever. I gotta want to see what happens. I mean, that's how it goes. All right, so like I do want to talk a little bit about because some people ask, right? Like, hey, what are you gonna do in the film room? Well, I haven't. It's a bye week. I was also just kind of chilling. Like, it can be just a little bit of a grind. It's fun, but it's also a little bit of a grind to be like, okay, let me watch the next opponent. Like, I don't really want to watch FAU football. I'm not excited about it. I don't care about Tom Herman. Like, FAU sucks again. I don't think Tom Herman's as good of a coach as Lane Kiffin. I think that's pretty obvious. Like, Lane Kiffin just got to turn that around quickly. Tom Herman is, he's like, we're going to get there, whatever. Like, maybe he'll be good or solid, whatever, but I just don't think that Tom Herman's on Lane Kiffin's level.
I
And
mean, how many former Texas coaches will Florida undermine or destroy their careers?
yeah, well, I think is it because Charlie Strong went from was it USF? Is that what I'm thinking of? Then he went to Texas,
Yes.
yeah, and then he went to Texas, and then after he left there, it was kind of obscurity, and now he's a broadcaster guy. Where is it? Charlie Strong. Where else did he go?
I think
I can't remember. So he was he's at Florida famously, and then Texas. Then he went. It was Louisville. That's what I'm thinking of. So Louisville, that's where he made his name. Texas, that's where
that's right.
he got his money. South Florida, and then he got fired. Alabama defensive analyst, the Jaguars, Miami as a defensive coordinator, and then Alabama defensive analyst, and then
So Louisville was where he had Teddy Bridgewater.
mm-hmm, yeah. So I mean, like Tom Herman, I don't think he's a super great coach. Florida Atlantic's not doing good, so I'm not excited about watching him. Right, so like if this week I was like, let me do something else. Play a little NCAA. I haven't played that in a while. But like, what's the thing? I have done a little breakdown of the 3-4 defense. I'll say this right about our defense is that it's pretty simple, straightforward. We're not doing anything crazy. And I think that's for a couple reasons, right? Like, obviously, we're doing it on the fly. And, I think we asked ourselves, like, okay, what's up with our you've heard, like, Eric Moore say, you don't want to have to teach new run fits and all this other stuff. There's a little bit of just making a guy stand in a new place, right? And then giving another guy just slightly different responsibilities. It does change things. Like if you have, and this is going to be better on the film. I'm just giving you a little preview of the remix. That in a run fit, right, you have 3 down linemen, right, in whatever front. And like I said, we typically line up in the 504I, right? Got 5 technique, which is like head up on the tackle. The 0 technique straight up on the center, and then 4I, which is the inside eye of the tackle, right? So like that. And we do that kind of depending on the strength of the team. Lots of teams do it different ways, for whatever reason, different keys. But we do it away, and then we say, all right, middle linebacker, your responsibility is to lag the center in a run fit. So if the center goes left, and he goes, we'll just say the left side A gap, then you have the right side A gap. Then this guy has the B, that guy has the B, and then the 2 outside linebackers have the C's, whatever, right? That's how you fit it. So you add a 4th linebacker, and so the star safety, what we call the star safety, is usually there to kind of help clean up whatever, right? Maybe they do a double team and gets blocked out of the play. That guy drops down, he's the fit that way. Well, if you make that nickel guy another linebacker, it sort of shifts everybody one way or another, right? So maybe you had the B, now you have the C, right? So little things like that, and maybe you've been practicing one way all off season. Now you're like, okay, now just a little bit different, and you can see a little bit of this happening when like Jalen Smith, a couple times, nothing crazy, he was the curl hook defender, or curl flat defender, I mean. And so he's dropping back, and then he's sliding out to the flat, and to try, not to the flat, to the curl, to try to undercut it. We're playing like a cover 3, and at least one reason why we gave up a couple of those passes, right? So we're like, all right, to the field side's nice and wide out there. Jalen Smith's supposed to drop back, defend the hook, and then widen out to stop the curl. And he was a little late, and we're throwing that, so the window was open, and then the pass was caught. Nothing crazy, but you could see that. And then there's another time he almost intercepted it because he did a better job. So I think little things like that, where they're not moving as fluidly as they could be, gives me a little excitement already. Like, okay, Tulsa's not great, right? They got blown out this week by Army. But they're okay, right? They're pretty good offense. Like, Army plays a 3-4-2. And, Wyoming is a terrible offense. So if there were 2 teams to kind of experiment live in game with a new defense, those are the teams to do it. I think Tom Herman's a good enough offensive coach where he's going to be like, all right, he's going to see a lot of those things and like, okay, we can probably mess with this guy because it looks like he's not really there yet. And I think I keep wanting to call him Phil Hill. He's not Phil Hill. This Hill guy, our number 21 on our squad. Maybe you have the roster. He's playing well, and there's a lot of times where he's telling guys where to go. He's getting into the spots and pushing guys over, and we're doing a pretty good job of that. But you can see we're still lacking a couple times. There's one time I think he told Witter where to go. A couple of the backup guys like Quentin Hammond came in. I think he was like, "No, you go here. We're doing this." There's room for improvement. It's good, but I think those are the things that you worry about, right? Like. Because it's not like the video games where you have, I'm just going to play a new defense, right? What's so hard about this? But you're asking guys to do different things and show them different things. And you only have, 20 hours during the week, right? So in that time, you want to prepare them for the next team, what they're going to see, what that team's going to do, but also prepare them for all the adjustments, right? You want them to read and react. Defense, you want to be fast because you're always a half second late. So if you're thinking, then you're giving away another half second. So you're a full second behind, and now the guy's wide open. You're like, how did we allow that? You're supposed to have this. I was trying to understand, like, okay, on this call, okay, yeah, I have this guy, then here, okay. all that, you're done. You're toast, right? You need to know already who you're supposed to have. And so that I think that's the thing. You're gonna have 2 weeks to work on some things. I'm interested to see what those things are, right? Like you have a budget, 40 hours is right, 20 hours practice time, and then whatever else the team they can go practice, watch some video, get better at it on themselves. We're gonna learn how good they got during this bye. It's a perfect time because now you're gonna play I don't want to say a real team, but FAU scored 41 against Wagner.
So more
they're okay.
formidable team.
Yeah, there you go. That's a better way to put it.
Name you're looking for is Jaden Hill.
Is it Jaden? Okay, I don't know why I can't not remember his name. Sorry, coach. I'm the worst. What can you say? What the worst podcast? We're dropping down the podcast rankings. This is what's gonna happen.
Taking it down a notch.
Yeah, they're like, that one. They were okay, but I don't know everybody's name.
That bye week show just was
Yeah, you got to step it up. It's funny. I saw the coach, Georgia's coach, Kirby Smart. He was coaching up the Georgia fans. So it's not only Eric Morris coaching up the fans, like we gotta show up. The fans gotta show up. Kirby Smart is like, they were not loud enough. I didn't really see that they had that home field advantage that that we need. And it was hot, but our kids are in pads and stuff. They got helmets, and pads. He said it twice. So here's FAU, right? Lost 10-16 to Michigan State. They lost to Army 24-7. Now that would be like, oh, what's the problem? They suck. But then now you're like, oh, okay, I guess the Army's pretty good now, right? They beat FIU 38-20. They lost to UConn 48-14. And that's the one I'm like, what are you doing? Is UConn even good? I don't know.
It's weird. They're 2-2. They beat Temple in a fun way.
Yeah, but like Temple sucks, right? I mean, well,
Yep.
UConn's 4-2. UConn got blown out by Maryland.
Oh.
They beat Merrimack, so that's whatever. They lost to Duke at Duke 26-21. Close game. They beat FAU 48-14, like we said. Blew out Buffalo 47-3. Beat Temple 29-20. I don't think Temple's that good, so I'm like, whatever. But I mean, okay.
Temple was Temple was driving. They were, I think, at the 1 yard line, about to score. Temple fumbled. It was like 0 seconds on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Temple fumbled at the 1 yard line. UConn ran it all the way back.
Yeah, so they almost lost to Temple is the way I look at that. UConn's a funny team because they're independent, right? Yeah, so the rest of their schedule is weird. Like they play Wake Forest, Rice, Georgia State, UAB, at Syracuse, and at UMass. Like, what a weird schedule. That UConn's gonna look better than they are. I mean, they have 2 losses, but because I don't think Wake Forest is very good. Rice is not good. Georgia State not good. UAB is awful. And then you got Syracuse and UMass. I don't know how good UMass is, and I don't know how good Syracuse is. But you win that, and then everybody's gonna be like, wow, the Huskies, only 2 losses. And you're like, okay, whatever. So FAU, I don't know how good they are. I don't think that they're very good. I think that
It sounds like they could score on you.
Yeah, I mean Wagner 41 points against Wagner. No, I'm not impressed by that. I mean 38 points against FIU. I'm not impressed by that. I feel like everybody can score in FIU. So after that, I'm like, all right, who else? If you scored some points against Army, I'd be impressed. They're not. Only 7. Even adjusting for the time of possession, stuff. I don't know.
I want to say Army looks pretty darn good. I've only caught like a game and a half total over the course of the season, and they're looking pretty explosive. And they can pass the ball, which is the scary part, right? Where we've always said they can't pass the ball, just stop the run. As hard as stopping that is, they can pass now, and that's going to be a little scary.
Army has an Air Force. Yeah, so FAU, 22 points a game, allowing opponents 23. It's a little unimpressive. I always like to look at offensive yards per play, 5.4 for FAU, 5.54 allowed. So I think that's pretty good, at least for us, right? Like I don't have like the numbers in front of me, like how well North Texas has been able to move the ball against teams that have good defenses. But just for comparison, like what I mean by that is like, all right, this team that North Texas played came in allowing a certain yards per play, and in the game against us, allowed this many yards per play. But I'll just say that we're averaging 7.27 yards per play, right? And we're allowing
Just
opponents 5.5 or so.
is that like top 15 in the country?
Yeah, it's pretty high up there. Let me scroll around while I'm talking to you. Let's look at total offense. Let's ask the internet. Ask the I don't have one of those. I just have the crowd cheering. They
As
love
you're looking.
they love this part. The crowd. All right, calm it down, you people. All right, okay. So, 7.27 yards per play. For North Texas with an F. We're 14th. Yes, you said top 15.
Nice.
We're 14th in the country. Yeah, I don't like yards per game, like total yards, but like Miami's averaging 8 yards per play, and you can see that like they casually threw a 77-yard, pass. Boise State 8 yards per play because that was it.
Gianti?
Yeah, he's crazy. He's like
Yeah.
So speaking of NCAA, right? Like I had Landon Sides, who won the Heisman, and because he caught 31 touchdown passes, because like his speed now is like 98. His release from the line is like 99. So you can't jam him. He has ridiculous speed. So I just kind of block it up, and then this is the part I don't like about the game. It's like no, they're not double teaming him. They're not putting anybody over the top. They just think that their best corner is going to guard this guy who's already, he's caught 4 touchdown passes like last week, guys. You don't have a game plan for him in the ACC championship game? No? Okay, well, touchdown. I'm just going to throw it over the top.
Yeah, so what
Kick
I
us
like to
5 a
do
game.
with Sides is that if he's got man to man on his side, and then I've got a drag route or a
Mm-hmm.
dig route
Mm-hmm.
coming from the right side, that pulls the safety on
Yeah.
his half of the field down, and when that as soon as that happens, press his button and lob it because he's already beat his guy
Yeah.
at the release point,
Yeah.
and just yet 75-yard touchdown every single time.
Yeah, and you're just like, you kind of, it feels a little spammy. But yeah, but whatever. Like, I think the game just, I guess, sort of helps by just having my line decide not to block sometimes. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah,
Just,
you have like 2 seconds before doing that.
just give me like, yeah, just a half a second more, and I can throw a touchdown pass. We can win this game. Yeah, you caught like 32 passes, touchdown passes. So anyway, I say all that to say like this is cheating. This is not real life. That the kid from Boise State is like that because he has 1,000 yards and like 14 touchdowns already. And then you look up every time he's like, oh yeah, 200 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game. Very casual, bouncing off dudes, easy. So he's the big reason why they're averaging 8 yards per play because
Yeah,
he's by himself. It's
incredible
ridiculous.
balance.
Yeah.
Right.
Mississippi, Lane Kiffin again, 7.87 yards per play. Alabama, because they have that kid, right? The Ryan Williams, he's like 17. Well, now
Yeah.
he's the youngest college football player ever to lose to Vanderbilt as a number 1 player.
That's that's quite the notoriety.
And then Navy, surprise, surprise, Navy. Do we
Yeah,
like they like Navy?
I mean, we're all supposed to like Navy and Army.
All right, okay, crowd, calm it down, guys. All right,
So
so
we could see Army, Navy like
back
play
to
their
back, yeah,
right, and then play in the championship game, and then one of them go to the
college football
playoff.
playoffs. Yeah, I mean, like I said, if I didn't have a vested interest in that not happening, then I would like to see that. I think it would be fun.
Right.
Because the other part is that they always play at a neutral site, right? So then having them conference like league guys, and like yeah, because it would be they would host, right? So like Army would have to go to Navy, or Navy would have to go to Army,
Hmm.
for the title game, right? Because it's a hosting, right? So they always play at a neutral site. So it'd be nice, like the Army Navy game, I mean. And so it'd be nice to see them, like Navy have to go up to West Point, or
Wherever
Army.
Navy is.
It's something with yards in
ocean?
it. No, I forget what it is. That'd be kind of fun. They're like, hey, we're gonna bring out a couple of the aircraft carriers.
Carriers.
Yeah, you're gonna have to play on here. This is Navy. This is how we practice. Yeah, that's what they do. Um, you got Ohio State, Indiana. Indiana has the coach of James Madison, the former James Madison coach.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're pretty good. Pittsburgh. I don't know anything about Pittsburgh's offense. I know I beat some kid playing Pittsburgh on the NCAA when I was in North Texas. They get so frustrated when they win as North Texas. They quit. So you get one interception, then they quit. Army, ninth in the country, 7.41 yards per play. They're good. And then you got Auburn, Texas, Louisville, Penn State, and then our good old North Texas, number 14 in the country. Not bad. And, I think that there's meat on the bone, like we're averaging 7.27 yards per play and committing penalties, underthrowing,
Well, yeah,
underthrowing, but like missing blocks. We don't have any running backs. It's not bad for considering the
yeah.
circumstances.
It's not empty yards, and by this point, this late in the season, these are real yards, right? These are not like drummed up yards against FCS squads or anything like that. Sure, we've played against weak competition, but we've put up numbers against weak competition and not struggled against it. I mean, there was a little bit of that, but we overcame it pretty aggressively towards the end of the game. But anyway, yeah, this is good stats, good company to be around. And I think last year we ended top 25 on
Yeah,
offense
yeah.
too.
I'm just looking that up. We were 17th in the country, right behind Boise State, right above San Jose State at 6.53 yards per play. We ran for 2,000 yards last year, and I wonder if we're gonna be able to reach that level this time.
I
That's
don't think so.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part where it's like, okay, we're at
What's the play?
816 yards. We're,
That's where you got to give credit to the coaches, right? Where you play to your strength. And Chandler Rogers, great runner, so we had a lot of option plays. Obviously Morris is a good runner too, but we're trying to keep him upright and or I should say, in the pocket. Um, and because he can sling it down when he feels like being accurate, he can sling it pretty far down. I think I've decided, yeah, keep the screen game going. Just be careful, if people are going to catch on and intercept it. But keep that going down the middle and the seams. He's great. Just quit with the out routes. No more out routes, please.
I like how you've decided for them. Like, hey guys,
I'll write them
I
a letter.
I thought about it a little bit, and here's what I like you to do. And you slide the paper. I mean, so you have a point there. Like, there have been some things that we missed. Like, you can see that Chandler Rogers. Again, it's a little unfair to say as a quarterback because Chandler Rogers had Jamori Macklin and Damon Ward, a healthy Damon Ward who caught passes, and then exciting Landon Sides, and now we have a hurt Damon Ward who after week one decided I can't catch any passes anymore. I caught them all in that first game, 12 of them. I can't be catching all of these. So and then he's hurt, and then like after that you're like, okay, Conwright has been a little hit or miss. I mean, obviously hit 96-yard touchdown, but then he's dropped a couple. I mean, I think he scored week one, right, and then against SFA too. So like, but you never think, okay, Blair Conwright, he's good for like 5 big catches a game. You're just kind of like, oh yeah, why don't we get him the ball more? Stuff like that's happening. It's not all on him. It's the offensive line, the running back situation, some freshman receivers playing, a lot of moving parts. So I don't think we make enough of how incredible the offense has been. And I know why we haven't done that. It's because we've been focused on the defense, where we completely revamped. We're like, okay, we had these safeties, they can't play because they're all suspended. We have, instead this defense that we're not going to use anymore because we got blown out. So now we're going to be a 3-4 defense. All right. So is everybody ready? So like, I think that's been the case. But I think we have to praise. We have to respect Eric Morse's job, right? He's done an incredible job of doing what we asked him to do, right? We're like, hey, come in here, we want to be as explosive of an offense as we have been, and maybe be a little bit more precise. And he's like, yeah, cool. We need you to recruit quarterbacks. Cool. 2 in 2 years that out here and producing. Like, sweet, that's what we want. And keep it going, win, being be competitive, go compete. 4-1, right? 4-1 this year. Last year with the terrible defense, it's just so awful. Still won 5 games. It's not, it's not terrible. We're 2 wins away from seeing what Eric Morris could do in a bowl game. You know, maybe they'll make up another one for him. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point. And we're seeing what his strengths are, right? As a head coach, the play calling, scheming and planning, as well as bringing in quarterbacks. I think that's been
that's
a huge,
huge.
huge boon. Yeah, even if you're struggling to scheme up, if you've got a good enough quarterback to improvise or take that play at the next level, the idea is to complete the pass, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes everything just falls apart, and then you got a guy who just comes out with some kind of win. You saw that last night against Arkansas versus Tennessee, where to finish out the game, instead of the guy seeing one of the guys in the end zone open, he just runs out of bounds with the clock
Well, he
expiring. I'm
got
like,
pushed out of bounds, and now I'm gonna require you to say his name. It's a lot of vowels in there. Go ahead.
there's a lot of L's. Yeah, I'm 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 not even gonna try. But the point is, chuck
Professional
the ball.
broadcaster Aldo Vina here. That
I
guy
could
whose name?
probably do better than some guys like Phil Sims, I'd say. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, throw it somewhere.
yeah,
What are you guys make a play?
yeah. I mean, you're right about that. Is that like I think I said like it's tough. It's tough, and I always say the same thing. I'll say it again because I have a rec league game later on today. Um, that go play a little rec league, and you see how many people just don't even have it. Right? This is like a C level rec league. It's mostly just like people like trying not to hurt their knees and get a little taste of the glory that they had 20 years ago. Yeah, I used to be pretty good out here. Like, okay, catch his pass. Oh no, my back. So, but you see, like, it's an important moment. I play a little co-ed soccer, my wife, and I was like, who's gonna take the penalty? And how many people are like, not for me, coach. And you're like, what? It's just nobody cares. We're on a high school field and a Sunday. Nobody, there's no TV here.
Pressure's on.
Yeah, and so you can see that just because you're like good and talented doesn't necessarily mean that you want the moment, right? Like I said, it's funny. And so not finding the guy that not only can just throw the ball, like talk to football, looks the part as a quarterback, but actually be a quarterback. Like, I don't know how you find a guy that's like, yeah, when hey, the offensive line, we just moved everybody around. It's really just a random assignment. It's like, guys, whoever wants to play somewhere, we just need 5 guys in front of you, right? This guy who's a backup guard, he's actually going to be your center for this next 4 series, okay? And then everybody just moved around just to shuffle. Random. It's like, just and then
Auto
hey,
reorder.
yeah, hey, guess what? I'm playing right tackle now. That's gonna be that. You have no running backs, by the way, and then none of your receivers know the play. Ready, break. So that's what happened. And then Chandler Morris is making something happen with that. It's like I saw I was rewatching the game, clipping it. I think they call an audible or they get to play from the sideline, something. I forget exactly the sequence, but it's 4th and 1. And so they do a little read. It's a little RPO, right? So they fake it. They look out, and he's supposed to throw a little wide receiver screen to just get this 1 yard. And DT Sheffield and Nick Rempert both blocked the corner. So the corner got blocked out the play. The problem was that there was no receiver to receive the ball because they're both blocking. And
Just want to do a really good job.
but they did a great job blocking, bad job receiving. And so then Chandler Morris is like, what do you do? And he's like, so then it ends up being a sack. But that's not his fault, right? You know the play. And this happened at home too, so it's not even like stadium pulse. It's like, oh man. So like there's room for improvement, which is, I say all that to say that, right? 15th in the country in yards per play, and imagine if everybody knew the play. We'd be
Yeah,
pretty
we're not
good.
executing at 100%.
Yeah.
And 50 injuries on the field and things like that. You're right. You're right. And I just want to add one more thing is that when your teammates listen to this, they're going to be so insulted. Hey, I thought we were cool.
No, they don't listen. They're too busy. It's hard enough trying to get everybody. That's partly what was happening is that they're texting me. It's like, hey, I got a guy. He wants to play. I'm like, okay. There's always like a little vetting process. You got to do some recruiting. You don't take anybody in the transfer portal, right? Like, all right, do they pass the ball? Cause you show up on time. Do you have money to pay? Because that's the other part too. Is that I noticed there's a lot of free. There's like, you know, people within the circuit of like the rec league, adult rec league, you know, soccer especially. There's always the people like, oh yeah, you need a guy to play, and they're pretty good. Then when it comes like, hey, you gonna play with us next season? Like, oh no, okay. Hey, we need a guy. Yeah, if you ever need a guy, I'm there. It's like, wow, you sure play every week for every team, and you never pay a dime. You know, it costs a little bit. You got to sign up. You know, we got to pay for the thing, but you never show. So then I started implementing the thing. I was like, all right, cool. Any, you know, like part timer, it's $10 a game, right? And then suddenly that guy's not available anymore. You know, and then also, you know, it kind of makes it cheaper because the problem with that is that now suddenly you have a bunch of part timers, not everybody's committed, so then I got to chase everybody down. You know, it's whatever. But that's what I'm saying. That's the nature of the thing. Is you know, I got to make sure I got to vet them. I do a little vetting right now. It happens everywhere. What I love about sports is that, yeah, because my wife and I were talking about something related to the office or whatever, just office kind of politics or something like that. And I was like, it's the same thing. Like, you don't get insight into FedEx's inner workings, you know, like, hey, the new marketing department, like, you know, like they paid that guy a lot of money, you know, to come over from Amazon. Is he pulling his weight? You know, is he worth? You don't hear that, but that situation is still there, right? You know, it still happens. And I think you can understand it a little bit more if you understand like sports. Like, hey, guy got a big contract, you know, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb. It changes the dynamic of the locker room a little bit, maybe a lot bit. You're like, it's like suddenly, hey man, you just signed a big old contract, now you're dropping passes, you know. Suddenly, you're like, oh, y'all want to go hang out? Like, I don't know, CD. I don't know if I want to hang out with you right now. You know, catch the ball.
Or if you're talking about like college, you know, you signed that big NIL deal with Al's Chuckwagon. You got to start catching those balls.
Yeah, Al's Chuckwagon. You get everybody's free. All your family get 3 vouchers. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It always happens that way. You get a new recruit, big time recruit, right? Like Texas Tech was experiencing this because they had that 4 or 5 star receiver, and then everybody's like, we need to get him on the field. It happens. Everybody's human, and you understand what's what. And then you have guys on the team like, this guy, this is the 4 star. I was a 2 star. I'm killing this guy in practice every day. He doesn't do anything. Like, I mean, sure, he can run fast, but the guy never knows the play. Whatever the case may be, right? All that factors in because everybody's human, and that's what I like about sports. You say you want to know about how the office is working. Just look at it through a sports lens. And you're like, oh, yeah, this guy's the veteran guy, and he's trying to hang on. A little Chris Paul here. You're like, yeah, you probably should have hung that up a long time ago, buddy. And then, young guy trying to make his name for himself, staying late. Like, okay, young kid right out of college, you got to teach him the ropes. Like, look, buddy, look.
Yeah, at work, like staying late. That's one of those things I'm like, we don't do that around here. Go home.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, look, buddy, you're not gonna get anything that much done from from 5:30 to 7:30. Be rested. That way, at 8 a.m. when it's time to work, you're ready to work. That's
well, yeah, and here when the sun sets at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon,
yeah,
in the winter, I'm like,
go.
You should be asleep right now. Go home.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. It's like I said, I do software development, and I think the thing about it is that higher you go up in a company, the less you get to do software development, and the more meetings you're in. And so then when it's time for me to actually do something, I'm like, oh, it's been a while. How do I even do this? And then also, like, I just kind of need some quiet. And so I still have that bad habit of like, all right, I'm just gonna knock this out, in the middle of the night where I have peace and quiet. but I do like it because I'm like, I did it not this week, but last week. I kind of threw off my posting schedule, but I was like, yeah, I woke up at 4 in the morning, and I worked till like 8, and it was great because I was just quiet, no dogs, no children, no wife, no nobody asked me to do anything. And then no work, nobody pinging me, right? Hey, can you look at this? Or, hey, what time's this meeting? Or, can it bother you about, nothing.
Yeah. Can I call you real quick?
No, I get it. I was like, it's so quiet. So I could just get this thing done. And I got it done. Now, if you are like my word, I'm going to say something. Just ignore this next part. I got like a week's worth of work done in like an evening. It was great. I'm a very valuable employee and I deliver all for, the shareholders, the stockholders, and everything. Anyway, I think all the dynamics are important. All right, so like over this bye week, has your opinion of the team changed at all, or is it still kind of the same?
I think it's improved. Like I'm watching the rest of the league falter, right? Obviously there's folks coming to the top, right? Navy and Army and stuff. But after that it's questions, right? Like East Carolina got blown out by Charlotte. Like it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
even close. And you're like, well, I thought they were gonna be the competition. It's not like I don't feel like we're better than East Carolina, but it's like, okay, they have a weakness.
What's about
I
I
don't
do? What is it? Why is everybody giving so much East Carolina so much deference? Like I don't think, are they that
I don't,
good?
I don't know. I think well, I mean, they double up their stadium.
Yeah.
They've got they've got a following. They do their part in terms of football
Well, tell me,
there.
it's not a fan competition. We don't get the 20,000 at Datku and have them go fight the people, and it's just
Well, yeah,
yeah,
and the perspective is like, at least from my perspective, it's like, yeah, they're middling,
yeah,
but they have a chance to beat a team like us, right?
yeah,
And that's how I go in entering the season. But I'm feeling like, okay, we could beat them without any trouble. Like Tulane obviously is would be a difficult game. Memphis, I don't even know anything about Memphis this season. I don't really care. I mean, I should care. I'll care the week before we play them. Um, but
How are we gonna make it all the way to Egypt to play Memphis? That's crazy.
so now I lost my train of thought.
Wait, I was saying, why do people give ECU so much deference? And you're like, they're the best team ever because they have more fans than us. I'm like, okay. And then you're like,
Well,
everybody else sucks, and this team Memphis, I don't even know who they are. That's you said. It's playback.
oh yeah, my point was the league is starting to shake out. We're saying
Yeah,
who sucks, who's middling, and who's the
yeah.
cream of the crop, right? And this bye week gives us an opportunity to see that settle a little bit more.
Hmm.
Um, some things get a little bit more unsettled, like I said, East Carolina. But some of them get reinforced, like Army, Navy, Tulane. So you could uh, like it makes me feel. Oh, the original question is, how does it make me feel? So seeing that unfold this week makes me feel better about the team. Thinking, okay, we can compete against the bad teams or beat the bad teams, compete against the average teams, and have a shot at upsetting some of the top teams in the league for a chance at a championship. At minimum, bowl game to end the season, but a chance to upset some of the top tier teams.
Yeah, I think that point about like 'cause our goals, I think unofficially, you just kind of reading between the lines. So like, Eric Morris thought that we had a bowl team, and that's about it. Like he wasn't. He was like, we got to make a bowl. That was kind of the thing. And I think the reason for that was that like he's looking at his defense and is like, okay, we can be better here, but then who do we have on offense? We got a lot of freshmen, a lot of young people. And the offensive line wasn't quite sorted out yet. And I think like there's a part where he wants better and he's coaching it better, but then also a part where he's like realistic. He's not going to come in, hey, we need to be a college football playoff team, because that's not we're not that at that point, right? Chandler Morris or no, we don't really have a squad that can go compete with the upper tier, as we saw against Texas Tech, which is they're 3-0 in the Big 12 and they're a little bit better than I think everybody was giving them credit for it. Because I think they were picked ninth or something like that. But you like I think North Texas is their record. They look like they have room for improvement, And it's the kind where it's like they haven't underperformed, but like it can be better, right? Freshman receivers only get better. And yeah, it takes another season, but Landon Sides went from a guy who didn't play week 1 last year to having a 100-yard game in his final game, right, of the season. Like he got better, right? He got better about this time of season, right? October period, playing against Tulane, playing against Memphis. And if you compare last year's team against this year's team, right? Last year's team was about one game under what you expected because you're like, okay, I want to beat FIU, I want to beat SFA, and then like what I forget the first 4 games. Do okay against Cal. The record was just like a game worse than what we expected. This year, our record is about what we expected. We said 4-1. You and I both said 4-1. Like, okay, I don't think we're beating Tech, but we can get out of this 4-1. We feel okay, and we're like, okay, like the offense should be good. The defense, we just need it to be, please just stop somebody. And what we've seen is that the defense is serviceable, that they've only looked bad against Texas Tech. Against everybody else, like 582 yards against South Alabama. I haven't seen what they did this week. I don't know if they're on a bye or something. But like South Alabama is a good offense, like allowing 582 yards against them is not, it's not great, but it was also like, we also didn't have our safeties. We're sort of settling into what we're going to be, and I think we're going to be a solid defense. We're not going to set any records, like in the league. However, we have put out some performances that are records in and of themselves, right? Like we held, it kind of depends on how you define it, but like we held Wyoming to under 100 yards rushing, right? First time since like FIU, like in 3 or 4 years, whatever it was. Like stuff like that. Like, hey, Wyoming's not a good offense. We made them look like a not good offense. Tulsa had a freshman receiver. We held them to 3 points for 4 quarters. And then the backups and the backups of backups got in, and they basically played a different game, right? That game was not even the same game. So it shouldn't count. It counts in the numbers. You're like, oh, North Texas allowed 200 yards rushing. It's like, yeah, when it didn't matter. It doesn't matter. You don't look at that. So FAU, not a great offense. Again, only 22 points a game. Is that last year's team? I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna turn them into world beaters, right? That's what's gonna happen. Suddenly, the running back's gonna have a day. He needs to invite all his friends, his mom. Everybody come here. I'm gonna, I never run for 100 yards before, but today I'm gonna do it. So like, we're not doing that. We're sort of a regular team. That's fine. We have regular mistakes. He didn't get out to the flat enough, and so it was a 9-yard gain that eventually turned into a punt. Fine, right? Last year was like, this guy didn't get to his gap. Nobody was there, and the guy ran for a 75-yard touchdown. Like, that's bad. So I feel good about that. Offense has been good, and like we said, it's amazing that we have 2 weeks where guys can learn the plays. 2 weeks where some guys can get healthy in the running back position. 2 weeks where our offensive line can, settle into a new position and figure out where they're going to play. Like, we moved Landon Peterson around a few times. The Moore kid also. Our left tackle situation, we swapped it out. Like, Michael Lee, he was the starter, now he's a bench guy. Jet Duncan was not playing, now he's back. We've played 3 different centers, this season. There's a Duncan, Mercer, Dixon, Mercer again. Now Jet Duncan's played, and I think we're settling in, and I like it. And I feel like that's the part where I'm excited. Where the part about which I am excited. Whatever, I forget how to speak English.
What were we talking
Yeah.
about? Yeah, no, you're right. In being more experienced in this offense, everybody's going to feel more comfortable. Because we've been so up and down, right? We talk about how we start off slow and where we disappear for a second and this and that. Um, but when we're on, we're on fire, and when we're not, we disappear. There's like no middle ground, right? It's this crazy. It's not even a spectrum, right? It's either on or off. Um, just real quick, South Alabama lost to Arkansas State. I think Arkansas State only kicked field goals,
What?
like 18-16.
What? Oh, there goes that. I mean, again, the other part about college football is it doesn't make sense, right? You're like, oh, Alabama beat Georgia. What a great game. Incredible game, all-time game. And they lose to Vanderbilt. You're like, what? What happened? How?
What did you do?
Who? How? I mean, that's college football. And, I think it's part of why we like it. Also part of why it gives us heartburn. I think we being, North Texas, yeah, so you got to give yourself every chance to win because some games you're gonna need all of those chances. You're gonna need all of the ones. You're like, please.
Oh, I thought you were going to continue the heartburn
No.
metaphor. And like, oh, we all have scar tissue from all the ulcers and that
Hmm.
from years and years of being North Texas fans.
And there is that. Um, so I was gonna say like I think we have a good. Who's the best team in the AAC right now? Is it Memphis? Memphis thinks it's Memphis, but they think they're the best all the time. Even like they think they're the best in basketball, while they're not making the NCAA tournament. They're like, but we're the best team. We probably should be in that. Sure, whatever. Like I think they're good, but they got whooped by Navy. Like and so
Yeah.
how good are you? It was not like a close game. They got handled. Like I don't know how good they are.
Um, I
Tulane
mean,
maybe. Is it
I want to
Tulane?
say Tulane, but I don't want to say Tulane. I'm gonna say Army. I'm gonna go with Army because they're a lot of fun
Yeah.
to watch.
So I mean, we said as much leading into this one. It was like, I mean, any aspirations that North Texas has of making the title game is in this October month, right? I thought that they would probably lose to FAU because I just feel like like the bye week, they go to Florida. It's always weird. I thought FAU was gonna be a little bit better. I was wrong about that. I figured somebody was gonna be better. I didn't know it was gonna be Army. So I think Army's a little bit better than we thought. FAU's worse than we thought. So whatever. It still kind of works out that way. There's always one team that's like, oh, that team's a lot better, and one team that you're like, wow, that team sucks. I think the team that sucks is UTSA. That's the one. Is like I didn't think that they were gonna be this poor. But because like they barely beat Kennesaw State. And I thought Kennesaw State was still an FCS school when I first saw it, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot they made the jump. Maybe they're just a little bit better than I thought." But then they're bad, Kennesaw State. They're like, "Oh, they're real bad." And then like UTSA was struggling against them, and then ECU, your favorite team, they
Second favorite team after
Army. I forgot.
after
It's
Army.
Army, Navy, ECU. Um, when like they were blowing out well, the ECU got blown out by Charlotte. That's what I was gonna say. That's crazy. And I was like, man, UTSA got handled over there. Like those Pirates are like sacking the quarterback all the time and making them look bad. And I think I saw the discourse about it was like, oh, well, it's a tough place to play, and I thought our quarterback played well. ECU is a good team. And then you see Charlotte whooping them. Like Charlotte, the guy with the sleeveless coach guy, that guy. Okay,
It's the power of the not sleeve.
yeah, he just keeps cutting it higher and higher.
Every win, keep
Yeah,
going.
we're winning, taking another inch off these sleeves.
And when they win the championship, you cut it off like the net.
Yeah, just all of it.
Second
Yeah. So all right, we're nearing the end of the show, so we'll wrap it up. By I don't know. What are we gonna say? It's FAU week. We got to get back in football game week shape. I'm gonna publish this film room today sometime this afternoon. Got a few more honeydews to do. Um,
yeah, go in focused. It was nice having the going into the bye week with a win. From a football perspective, staying focused and making sure we don't lose on the road. I think we both toss this up as a loss
yeah,
because
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember
road
I don't
game.
have your one in front of me, but I do think
uh,
I said this loss. I know I said it was a loss.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of losses against Florida teams the last 20 seasons. So I think I'm at season 20, maybe 21.
Wait, like I
Um,
said, I just feel like even from when I was in school, like we'd go to FIU and then like T.Y. Hilton would kill us. Or like, like
yep.
you couldn't find that on the stream. You had to listen to it on the radio and you just see the box score and they're like, how FIU, what is that? FIU, FAU, just, you go to Florida, just weird things happen. That's why I'm like, okay. So I think we got to account for that, you know, just going to
Yeah.
Florida. Just, I don't
You-
know.
I like to say that we win one we're not supposed to win one, and we lose one we're not supposed to lose every single season.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be the same to any football team.
I mean,
And
last year we went to Miami and we lost to FIU. Ugh, that was awful.
yeah, shouldn't have lost that one.
No. So, I think be aware, beware, and be wary, all of them. And then, I think we're going to learn. Here's a couple of things, right? What are we going to learn about Eric Morris? I think he's a better game planner than Seth Luttrell sometimes. Like, just like I think Seth Luttrell is more accomplished. I'll say this, right? Because he's been in more bowl games, whatever. But in the small period of time that we've seen Eric Morris running North Texas football, I think, excuse me, coming out of bye weeks, preparing for teams that are better, like the Memphis, the Tulane games, right? Like both of those games, I thought North Texas had a good plan, and they gave them both a scare. And there's a little bit like, oh man, like North Texas is a little bit of a problem to deal with. Eric Morris found something. I do think that there's another, like on the negative side, is that we're slow starters, right? Like last year was like first half, didn't score touchdowns. Second half, 6 straight touchdowns, right? And then sneaky thing about that Tulane game is that's what happened, right? Like 4 or 5 straight possessions, nothing. Hey, 96-yard touchdown. Now we can't be stopped, right? Like it just turns it on. So it'd be great if he could tweak that and then make whatever adjustments he makes, give whatever speeches he gives, earlier. Do it before the game. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that'd be it.
spend those coach points at the beginning and not during the halftime.
Yeah, I mean, it's great that you have whatever you do at halftime. Like just do it before the game. Rather start the game off with 5, 6 straight scores, or whatever. But I mean, I think so far so good as that's concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Mean Green Nation podcast. Thanks for listening. Go Mean Green.
Go me green.
Now you get to the ASMR. We want to thank you for listening to this. All right, we're done. I'm gonna stop this one now.